Merry Christmas and welcome to episode 82 of Oscar Sunday. I'm Austin Johnson.
I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
And today we're talking about all things Paul Thomas Anderson. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and why not for a little celebration for Christmas, right? talk about PTA. Why not?
Why not indeed? Now that we've both seen all of his films since we were able to see Licorice Pizza in LA a couple weeks before everybody else, seems appropriate to just kind of dive into his career and talk about what we like about this guy.
Yeah. Of course, you know me. I've mentioned plenty of times, and if you listen to any of our shows, it's hard for me to hide my fandom for him. He's definitely my favorite filmmaker of all time, and I loved Licorice Pizza. That was a blast to see that with you. It was a lot of fun. I do want to kind of do something we've never done on any of our shows before, and kind of since, like you said, we've seen all of his movies, both of us. There's only 9 of them. I want to kind of rank them, not necessarily, this one's my personal favorite or that kind of a thing, but more like what is his proper, the standings of PTA films, and ones that, from 1, you absolutely have to see this, all the way till 9. Or, maybe we think it's like the weakest of his filmography. So we're just going to have some fun with it. We'll definitely talk some about the individuals who are nominated for the movie that we're going to be talking about later, The Master. We're going to be giving awards out to that movie. It is maybe, we'll get into that, but it could be seen as his best movie, one of his best for sure. And it was up for Best Actor, Joaquin Phoenix, Best Supporting Actor, Seymour Hoffman, and Best Supporting Actress, Amy Adams. So some pretty awesome people we'll get to talk about later, give awards out to The Master. We'll look at the 85th Academy Awards just for fun. So I'm excited to do all that. But before we get into that, I want to talk about PTA and all of his films. He's been nominated 8 times by the Academy. He's never won anything, which is a damn shame. I really hate that he doesn't have gold yet, but I don't think he really cares. I think he's always been making movies for himself, and making stuff that's personal, making stuff that's fun, and that's going to live on for a long time. He's not going for box office hits. He's going for films that will stand the test of time. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, he's all about legacy. He's all of his films, or most of his films, have to deal with growing up in California, which is kind of his milieu. And yeah, he goes outside the box from time to time, but every film has a style, has a grace about it. And like you said, he doesn't care about winning awards. He's here to make his mark on film. And I think he has done that already.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that we've talked a lot about on the show that you start to realize that these auteurs and these big time directors, they work with a lot of the same people over and over. And Paul Thomas Anderson is at the top of that list of using his friends, using Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead, and using Mark Bridges, the wonderful costume designer, and Robert Elswit for cinematography. He goes back to the same people because they understand what he's trying to do. And I love that through this show, we've kind of learned that that's more the case than not with auteurs and big time directors. So with PTA, he's got starts out in 1996 with Hard 8, a lot of fun, great movie, and then goes just immediately after 1997, Boogie Nights, and then there's a 2-year gap before my personal favorite movie of his, Magnolia. I understand it's not his masterpiece, but I love that movie. It's quite long, but it's got everything that I want, and all these crazy ideas just colliding at once. And then he takes a 3-year break before Punch Drunk Love in 2002. And then there's a big old gap between 2002 and 2007 for There Will Be Blood. And you can see him stepping up his game big time in that stretch. And then there's another big gap from There Will Be Blood to The Master. And this is something we'd see more often with him. Like, okay, he's taking these breaks because these movies clearly take a huge toll and are very creative. And, they're intense. They're intense movies that just take a lot of time to properly make. And he's a guy who's always used film, right? He's always been very, very big on that and kind of doing it the right way in his eyes. And I really respect that. So then you have 2007 to 2012, you have that break, and then The Master, and then 2014, Inherent Vice, 2017, Phantom Thread, and then finally this year, 2021, Licorice Pizza. He's in his early 50s, and I don't think he's done by any stretch of the imagination. I think the guy still has a lot left in the tank. He's clearly having a lot of fun here with Licorice Pizza, and it's really cool to see that. So, if I were to ask you, Connor, what's kind of in the bottom tier of PTA's films? Where do you think? What's the movie that you don't think everybody has to see? That kind of conversation.
Well, let me start out my ranking here by saying that I don't necessarily think any of these movies are bad. Even the bottom tier these are still good movies. But there's a lot of personal preference here. I would start out number 9, Inherent Vice.
Okay.
I hated this movie when I first saw it back in 2014 with Caleb. And I guess, both of us were not big Paul Thomas Anderson fans at the time. I hadn't seen really anything, and I was not prepared for what this was. I acknowledge that. I went back and watched as much of it as I could for this episode, and I found something in Inherent Vice I hadn't found before. It was still hard to follow at times, but I was able to grasp more of it and appreciate it for what it was, which is great, because I've learned over the course of these shows that a second watch is crucial to understanding certain films. Inherent Vice is one of those movies. I can't really explain the plot to anybody who hasn't seen it. But if you're going to introduce yourself to Paul Thomas Anderson, this is not the movie you should use. No, this is for the long timers. This is for the people putting the work in.
Yeah. I think Inherent Vice is definitely an acquired taste and is, based on the novel of the same name by Thomas Pynchon, and the book is wildly confusing, just like the film. But everything does have a point and has, if you're really, really trying to latch on to what's happening, you start hearing Golden Fang a lot throughout the film, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? There are things that are like really cool things happening. I love Inherent Vice. It's great. After rewatching it, just in preparation for this show, I was like, oh my God, I love this movie even more. I also saw it in theaters. I saw it with at the time in 2014, I wasn't a Paul Thomas Anderson disciple like I am now, but I was a fan. I hadn't seen everything, but I just knew this is the guy who made There Will Be Blood. So, I should check it out. And I went and saw it with a friend who at the time we saw it at Embassy here in San Antonio, Santikos Embassy. And the guy I went with was a massive fan at the time. It was like, Paul Thomas Anderson's a god, we have to go see this. And I was just blown away by mainly the cinematography. It's just out of this fucking world. Like what is happening? The way that he captures 70s California is unlike anybody else in modern day cinema. His tenacity when it comes to doing things his way, the right way in his eyes, is really cool. I love Inherent Vice. I personally would have it probably a tad higher, but I totally understand. It's 2.5 hours. It's wicked confusing. And it definitely, like you said, I think the biggest point with Inherent Vice is that I wouldn't want anyone to start out Paul Thomas Anderson's filmography with Inherent Vice. So I'm okay with that being number 9.
It's like me, I didn't like it, and I was hesitant to continue looking up his work. I was like, oh, this guy doesn't give a shit about entertaining people. This is just another art movie director that I'm not going to want to bother with. But then I looked at the rest of the work, and I'm like, oh no, young Connor was a fucking idiot. I get it now. You gotta learn from who you were, or else no one's going to fucking tolerate you.
I love that. And your man Thanos is at an all-time high in Inherent Vice. Josh Brolin, Jesus Christ,
fucking Bigfoot. He's ridiculous human being in this movie. I'm gonna finish it just on principle, because I'm like, I want to kind of re-experience this film entirely. But just I watched about an hour of it, and I was like, yeah, okay, this is better than I remember. Yeah, and the just like always, the soundtrack, Jesus, from the very beginning we hear, like when we see the title,
Inherent Vice, and you got Joaquin Phoenix just looking down the street like, what just happened? And it starts playing Vitamin C by Can, and you're like, wow, I'm in Paul Thomas Anderson's world. It's very cool, very cool. Yeah, I love this one.
Definitely. Okay. So that's the only one I would label as kind of questionable. Everything else pretty straightforward for me. Number 8 is Phantom Thread.
Okay.
Phantom Thread, Daniel Day-Lewis's swan song. This is a good movie for the right audience. This is a film about a tailor obsessed with perfection. And that is not necessarily going to be a cup of tea for casual movie fans. I had to watch a lot to reinforce my love of, Anderson's work, of Daniel Day-Lewis's work, of just this idea of cinematic obsession, which I've ironically become kind of obsessed with. And it's a great movie. It's a great performance piece for DDL to really kind of end his career this time. I still think he's coming back at some point. For, on more of a softer note, this isn't Bill the Butcher. This isn't Daniel Plainview. This is, what was his name?
Reynolds Woodcock.
I knew it was Woodcock. I wanted to say Russell, but I'm like, that's not right. Reynolds Woodcock, just a quiet man with a lot going on in his head. And if you just watch it as a performance piece, like as a character study, this is great. I just think Anderson's other work is substantially better. And that's just, there's a lot of 8s here, a lot of 8s. And I have to kind of justify, like, is this a high 8? Is this a low 8? I got to like go into the minutia here, and it's weird. So,
yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I think Phantom Thread is just like Inherent Vice, an acquired taste for different reasons. Like you said, Phantom Thread is probably a movie in theaters that a lot of older people saw, a lot of Oscar fans saw, most likely. And if you're looking for Boogie Nights, sorry, it's just the pace is way different than what we're used to with Paul Thomas Anderson. And while there is humor in it, there's some fun stuff. It is dark. It's a dark film, and like you said, about obsession, also about with Alma, his love interest. I like looking at the movie from her perspective because it's like a character study for, of course, Reynolds Woodcock, but also a character study for someone who's falling in love with an artist, who's falling in love with like a creative genius. And there's got to be stuff in there that Paul Thomas Anderson has had to kind of confront in his own world, in his own mind, that when you are that obsessed with something, when you're making it, you're probably a prick. You're probably an asshole. You're probably one track minded. And I think PTA has always, throughout his life with his relationships, and now he's been with Maya Rudolph for nearly 20 years, and they have 4 children together. I think he's always had to kind of confront that about himself and about creativity. And I think that's why he takes such long breaks in between his movies. It's intense, and there's a lot of intent. There's a lot of really tough decision making, and it's cool. It's cool to see him do something like Phantom Thread. Fucking Boogie Nights is only 20 years prior, right? I mean, for him to go through that gauntlet, of creativity in 20 years is really outstanding. And I love that movie. I really do. Rewatching that was an absolute blast. I saw it in theaters as well, here in San Antonio at one of the Draft House theaters. And, it's one of those, Johnny Greenwood's score, again, Mark Bridges, he won costume design for that movie, and DDL lost to Gary Oldman that year. That's tough for me to swallow. I don't think that's Gary Oldman's best performance by a long fucking shot. And I think Daniel Day-Lewis he's properly hanging up the gloves. He's properly hanging up the jersey and saying, I'm done. And I gave you everything, and I love that. I love that was his last movie, is this, like you said, this kind of subtle, but whenever he does snap, he fucking snaps, and it's awesome. It's so fucking good. I understand this one being at 8. I also, I have my own, personal list of just straight up favorite, like which ones are just speak to me as a human. And this one, either way, when it comes to kind of his stature as a filmmaker or me personally, it's somewhere in the bottom three. I still love it.
I was happy to see Gary Oldman finally get a statue. I like Darkest Hour, but I get where you're coming from. Darkest Hour, his Churchill is a bit more impersonation than transformation. I get that.
Yeah.
But Oldman's got a statue now. He's Academy Award winner, Gary Oldman.
I know,
that was a long time fucking coming.
Yeah. I really deep down think Daniel Kaluuya should have got it for Get Out, but I think it would have been really cool to see Daniel Day-Lewis get 4, because that's just nobody else is going to do that, and that would have been really cool. It would have put him in a different stratosphere, when it comes to the Oscars. It would have put him in the same class as Katharine Hepburn, and that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Going back to the beginning with number 7, Hard 8.
I figured this was coming. Yeah.
Hard 8 was really cool. I love gambling movies. I love poker movies.
Me too.
And this is, for a first film, for a debut, he had the kind of sense and grace of an older filmmaker from the beginning, which is really impressive. A lot of filmmakers don't have that kind of control just going into the business. And he just seemed to know exactly what kind of filmmaker he wanted to be just from the start. Hard 8 says so much about his career going forward. Just the way he balances characters and drama. It's pretty amazing. And Hard 8 is a really cool movie, a good predecessor for things to come. And also a great drama piece for John C. Reilly, who I don't think gets enough credit for his dramatic talents. Hard 8 is a really cool movie. Pretty short too. You could probably knock this one out quickly.
Yeah. It's his second shortest in runtime. It's like an hour and 40 minutes, which is just unheard of for him. And I think this is where his biggest trademark comes through very, very bright in Hard 8. And that is his ability to give lead and supporting actresses just killer shit to say. And Sydney, Philip Baker Hall's character, good fucking Lord, what a cool character. And what a great performance. A Hall of Fame type performance. And it's where we see him, like you mentioned with John C. Reilly, that's where Philip Seymour Hoffman shows up for the first time with him. He shows his ability to work with actors and then get them to come back right away. Get them right back on board. Imagine making Hard 8 in your mid-20s. Like, are you fucking kidding me? It's crazy. It's really bonkers. And then to follow it up with, of course, his 1997 masterpiece. I love Hard 8. It's on Amazon Prime right now. I really encourage people to go check it out if you haven't. It gets a little off the tracks for some time there towards the end of the movie, but it is good. It's so good. The first 20 minutes or so are fucking mind-boggling when Philip Baker Hall starts to kind of take John C. Reilly under his wing, and you're just in that casino, you're in Nevada with them, and it is fucking cool. I love how his influences are worn very much on his sleeve right there. You can see a lot of the Robert Altman in that movie, and you can see his addiction to addiction, the addiction of gambling, the addiction of, there's characters drinking and drugs and all these different things. He likes showing that on the screen. And I love Hard 8. I personally have this. I think I have it last. I think I have it last place. But again, these are, I love all of these movies so much. I do know from what I've read that this is his first feature, and the production company did have to kind of pull him back a few times. And when he does his next movie, there was none of that. There was no kind of taming him, and you can tell.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're going to follow this up with one movie that's nearly 3 hours and another one that's well over 3 hours.
Yeah.
But I like that he's, recently come out and said like they probably could have been shorter, which is funny, like to own up to that. Like, yeah, as a young man, I was too ambitious. It's cool to see a filmmaker kind of, reflect like that.
Yeah, I think he's very realistic about where his mind was in the mid to late '90s and how he was, taking drugs and just kind of all over the place. I like that he's realistic about that and talks about how he was out of his mind in the editing room for Magnolia. He's just losing it. and it shows, and you either are in for that ride, or you're not. So yeah, very very cool that he started out with Hard Eight. I think a lot of times someone will make a movie and then they're chasing that the rest of the time. Paul Thomas Anderson has never looked back, really. He's always just topping himself and always kind of playing against himself, and I love that.
Yeah, and we see that big time with his most recent effort, my next one, Licorice Pizza.
Yeah.
Definitely a film about, where we've been, like where we've, growing up in the world like this, looking at, your own history through the lens of who you used to be. And that's really cool. I definitely, especially with Cooper Hoffman on board, I'm sure there was a lot of reminiscing on this set.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a weird movie. Yes, it kind of glosses over some statutory rape. Yes, it's an odd relationship between a 15-year-old and a 25-year-old. Yes, weird. Let's move past that now.
Yeah, I think I actually I don't want to move past it. I think it's really interesting. I think I totally see that if it were flipped, if the 25-year-old were a male and a 15-year-old was a female, this movie wouldn't get made. I think that's a huge part of the point. I think the male characters in this movie very much display how males, and males still get away with a lot, but in the early 70s got away with fucking murder and got away with whatever they wanted within the movie industry, within the acting industry. So this guy, it makes sense that Cooper Hoffman's character is thinking, well, I can't be touched. I'm a fucking showman. I can do whatever I want. I can get any woman I want. I can do anything. I can walk into any bar and they're probably going to serve me. That's his attitude. And he carries that same bullshit attitude, that like arrogance that so many of the males in Hollywood, look at Sean Penn's performance, look at Bradley Cooper's performance. They're just like, I can't be fucking touched. And I think that's very intentional from Paul Thomas Anderson, that era specifically in the industry that he grew up with and still loves and still works within had its glaring problems. And it's good that doesn't happen anymore. Of course it is, it's still happening, but not to that scale where it's just every single person gets away with anything they want.
So you see this as kind of his showcase of 70s Hollywood toxic masculinity.
For sure. I don't think that's all it is. I think he uses that as a vehicle.
Yeah.
And I think Cooper Hoffman does a wonderful job in this movie. Alana Haim does a wonderful job. It's just fun. It's just a fun ass movie. I was cracking up in the theater for this one. I was really happy again that you were with me to see this, because we were just looking at each other like, what the fuck was that? And I love that. I love that feeling that I get every time with Paul Thomas Anderson's movies, where you're just okay.
Of all the films we could have seen at like a premiere week in Los Angeles, seeing a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, that's just serendipitous. Like, it just worked out so well. The timing of everything, it was perfect. Hell
yeah, it worked. It worked out great. And whenever his next movie comes out, 2024, 2025, whatever, I want to go back. I want to go back and do that exact same thing. That was so fun.
Yeah, we'll make that our tradition. We'll go to LA every time PTA releases a new one.
Yeah. And I would like to, if we could have stayed a little longer, it was showing at the New Beverly Cinema, at Quentin Tarantino's theater. That would have been a really cool experience on a little bit, a smaller screen with these people that are, real tight, smaller theater overall. And yeah, that would have been really neat, to see kind of two of our favorite directors of all time at work. Right. Very cool.
And I'd be lying if I said that the experience I had isn't, tainting my opinion of the film. I'm going to link those two forever. That's never going to go away. The film, it does have its weird narrative decisions to just drop random plot lines and never revisit them. Yeah. But that's something I've kind of gotten used to with Paul Thomas Anderson. You got to, you at this point, it's on me. Like, I've seen so much of his work, like I got to deal with it. But overall, this is an entertaining movie and it's an oddball and I like the message, and it's a good film for right now.
Yeah. With all movies trying to tell you something about the times that we're in, it's nice to just watch a movie and just watch something that's entertaining and is wacky and committed to itself and has a wonderful soundtrack. Good God Almighty. The soundtrack is so cool in this movie. Licorice Pizza at number 6 feels right.
Yeah. Sometimes you just want to watch a 15-year-old hustler try to sell some water bits.
Yeah. Yeah. And then and then come up with a place called Pinball Palace. Yeah. Come on.
Oh, what a weird movie. Okay. Top 5. Number 5 is Magnolia.
Yeah.
This is it's a tough one to explain to people. Like, yes, I sat through a 3.5 hour nearly multi character drama that really doesn't have a story, but just kind of shows the life and times of random people who've kind of lost their moment, which is really interesting. And this movie has some of the greatest character moments I've ever seen. Especially with Frank T.J. Mackey, who, I don't like to praise Tom Cruise often because he's kind of a piece of shit, but he's the perfect piece of shit for this piece of shit. It works. Yeah. And I love this guy who has built a life out of just being a super misogynist and just distancing himself from all of his emotional shit and then having to confront everything all at once. And the weight of that, you just feel it. His moment with Jason Robards and then, PSH just off to the side, crying his eyes out. Dear Lord, man. I mean, I felt that right there. And then also, the whole thing with William H. Macy and the weird quiz kid shit. That was great. John C. Reilly's kind of sad, broken cop. It's just a great bunch of actors giving it their all in a screenplay that was just cranked out with zero editing. This thing is a monster. I bet you could beat somebody to death with a Magnolia script. But you also see a filmmaker who's here to stay. You might at that point said, "Oh, Hard 8 was cool. Maybe Boogie Nights was a fluke." Then you see Magnolia and you're like, "No, this guy's going to be here forever."
I totally agree. I love this movie. It's my favorite movie of all time. So of course it's my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie. It is not his best. There's just no way. I mean, for fuck's sake, there's frogs that fall out of the sky. A big part of why I love that. I love that kind of weird twist at the end. And John C. Reilly's in his car, Officer Jim Curring, and he's like, "What the?" A frog just lands on his windshield. And then we're showing all of the different characters, and it's Philip Seymour Hoffman who says, "My God, there are frogs falling from the sky." He just calls out what's happening. Then Stanley, the new whiz kid, he's like, "These things happen. These things happen." And the more and more I watch it, the more and more I'm just convinced that Paul Thomas Anderson has been a genius for a very, very long time. And there's references to the book of Exodus from the Bible. At one point, William H. Macy, Donnie Smith is quoting a verse from Exodus while he's throwing up in the toilet. And then in the book of Exodus, of course, with old boy Moses, who, of course, is a big character in the Bible. At one point, there is a threat that frogs will fall from the sky from God, saying, this is going to happen. And to put that in your movie is very ballsy, and not a lot of people are going to go for it. Also, not a lot of people are going to go for your cast in the middle of the movie singing along with Amy Mann's Wise Up, it's just got so many wild fucking decisions. It's clearly a guy approaching 30 who's like, everything is happening in my mind. Everything. I'm questioning everything. I'm questioning how I was raised. I'm questioning how people are raised. I'm questioning how important it is to have your parents around. And good heavens, it's the exploitation factor of, adults have on their children in some situations. And specifically in this movie, dads to their sons. Just fucking nuts. And Jason Robards, who passed away shortly after this movie was done, he is giving kind of all he has left in this movie as Earl Partridge. And that, like you mentioned, that last scene that him and Tom Cruise have together is some of the best shit I've ever seen in my life. Cruise apparently was struggling with that part of the movie when they were filming, and Paul Thomas Anderson was like challenging him, kind of doing what directors every now and again have to do to get the best thing they want out of their actors, and was like, hey, think about your dad. This apparently Tom Cruise and his dad, have had their own issues. And then we get what we get. We get Tom Cruise kind of holding his fists together and, don't you go away, you fucking asshole. He's just like screaming at his dad. That stuff is fucking unreal. And all the connections that everything has, the use of San Fernando Valley, very cool, just very cool. Crazy double feature with Boogie Nights, where you get this, we have the next Scorsese in our hands, to, what is this? Like, what left turn did he just take? He could have made another really entertaining, wild, fun movie, but instead he makes Magnolia, which is maybe his deepest movie, his most disturbing movie. And I love it. I love it so much. It is 3 hours, but it whips by for me because I'm just having a ball the entire time. And I love it. I really could go on and on forever about it. We'll definitely do an episode on it one day. I can't believe Tom Cruise didn't win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, losing to Michael Caine. That's one of the biggest kind of snipes of all time for me. Even you and I were texting about it last night. We were like, even Michael Clark Duncan for Green Mile, or Jude Law for Talented Mr. Ripley, or Haley Joel Osment. There's so many other options. They go with the kind of boring Oscar bait movie and role for Michael Caine. Love Michael Caine, but come on, Tom Cruise is putting everything out there for you, as Frank T.J. Mackey, or his real name, Jack Partridge. He's fucking bonkers in that movie. And I think that's a damn shame. I love it. I understand it being number 5. I think a lot of people probably have it somewhere in there. I think a lot of his fans really like it, but they also are like, I don't watch it all the time because it's a fucking, it's a fucking marathon.
Clearly the Academy did not respect the cock.
No, they did not.
Because watch the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I love that shit. That's the first, when we see him, he's just raising his raising his arm.
I watched that clip in a film class I took in college. Like, I don't remember what she was trying to show us, but she played that for Magnolia, and I'm like, this is weird. I hadn't seen the movie yet. It was me and like an auditorium of like 100 kids here, and respect the cock. Just
tame the cunt. Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? But I love Michael Caine too, but that he cannot hold an American accent. And when you flub your accent, you don't win an Oscar. That's my opinion.
I totally agree. And vice versa. You got it. The accent. It's like when someone doesn't sing in a movie when they're supposed to sing. If you can't nail an accent, then it shouldn't be awarded.
It's right there. Best supporting actor. Like, I want the best should get it. And Tom Cruise, as much as I don't care for him as a person, earned that Oscar. Yeah,
I agree. And he's in the top. He's at the top of the world, right? He had just done Mission Impossible in 1996. He can do anything he wants. Tom Cruise can handpick the movies he's going to be in. And he decides in 1999 to be in Magnolia with young Paul Thomas Anderson and to be in Stanley Kubrick's last movie, Eyes Wide Shut. Are you fucking kidding me? Shit. What kind of a movie star is like, yeah, I'm going to do that and risk it all put all the chips on the table and just fucking go for it. I have so much respect for him for doing that. Since then, not as much ballsy stuff. He's kind of played it safe, right? You know, he's done the Mission Impossible stuff, and I still love him. I love his performances. I don't, you know, again, the guy is weird.
Well, he's put more energy towards, you know, Scientology than he has, you know, his performances. And I think a lot of filmmakers and actors don't really want to deal with his shit. So
yeah,
like he's got his guy in Chris McQuarrie for the Mission Impossible movies, and then that's kind of it for him right now.
Yeah.
And we'll, you know, the movie we're talking about today is the reason he never worked with Paul Thomas Anderson again.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, for sure. And I did want to say, of course, The Master is the movie we'll be talking about a bunch during this episode. Jason Robards, him and Paul Thomas Anderson would hang out, you know, on the set and stuff, because Robards couldn't really do anything. That's kind of Earl Partridge is kind of him in a way. He's just kind of bedridden, you know, definitely a sick man. And he was in the Navy, Jason Robards. And he would tell him and Paul Thomas Anderson would just kind of drink and hang out together. And Robards would get drunk and start telling him Navy stories. And that's where we get a lot of the stuff that happens in The Master is from Robards. Yeah. Very cool.
Wow. Jesus, Paul Thomas Anderson does not waste a moment of his life. Everything gets put in a journal and gets brought up again at some point. That's fucking great.
Yeah. The Master. Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll talk more about it soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, sooner than you think. And the next one is The Master.
Number 4. Oh God. All right. Explain.
I didn't think I was gonna like this one as much as I did the first time I saw it. I knew, you know, I love the cast, but I'm like, all right, how far is he gonna go? Like, I heard it was a movie that was heavily based on, you know, the early days of Scientology. Lancaster Dodd is very much a stand-in for L. Ron Hubbard, and, you know, the cause and all that. It's all Scientology. But I wanted to know, like, is he going to lambast these guys, or is he going to play it safe? And he kind of finds a middle ground, which is fine. But the movie is so fucking engaging because of the 3 leads. They are so good. And it's so, like, you don't skip, like, I tried to do, like, you know, write something or do something else while I was watching it. I couldn't fucking concentrate. I was like, this is too good. I kept going back to the movie, like, this is amazing. And I love when a movie can do that. And this is like a huge ass game of chess between 2 very crazy people in different ways. And it never stops. Even in the end, you're like, who won this? Like, who came out on top here? You don't really know. You can watch this a million times and come up with a different option every time. This is a movie that's just going to get better the more I watch it. As are my top 3. This is fun. I'm excited to really dig into this. Enough said. Yeah. God, this movie is absurdly good. It's insane. It like you mentioned, the 3 leads, Joaquin, Phil, and Amy Adams, just putting on a clinic, putting on a fucking show the whole time. And you can see their respect for Paul's writing and for all these kind of bonkers ideas flying around. And I'm with you. I think it's endlessly rewatchable because no matter what, you can always come up with a different idea of what just happened and who won and who comes out on top. And right now my answer is nobody. They're all fucking lost. You know, they're just lost in the mix. Really, Amy Adams wins. You know, I think at the end she's clearly in control of what Lancaster, and Lancaster also is used, of course, because one of Paul Thomas Anderson's favorite actors is Burt Lancaster. So, of course, we love him here on Oscar Sunday. He's one of our favorites. Elmer Gantry might be the best acting win of all time. So, really cool that Paul also respects that and sees that, and, you know, wanted to use that for that name. And you can see a little bit of Philip Seymour Hoffman trying to kind of do that, you know, fucking wild acting. In this movie specifically, the technical things that are happening are fucking crazy and will be taught
I believe will be taught later on down the line. It already has become kind of a cult classic. It lost money at the box office, which is just a fucking shame that people didn't try to go see this. I saw it in theaters. I was 17. I saw it in College Station. I had no idea what I just witnessed. I was like, what? All right. I remember I saw it with my older brother and one of his friends, one of his roommates. They were, living right around Texas A&M. And none of us really liked it because we didn't know what happened. But my interest was piqued. I was like, wait a minute. There's something there that I missed or that I don't get yet at my age, and that I need to kind of go through to actually understand. And of course, that was the same year I became a missionary and moved. Yeah, fucking crazy. I moved overseas to the wonderful country of Romania to tell people about Jesus. About I was doing Christian missionary work, and now when the movie, I'm like, wow. I'm not going to say that Christianity is the same as Scientology, because it's not. Scientology is very much its own beast, and I wouldn't want to entangle the two. But as far as religions go, I'll say this might bother some listeners. I was almost sucked in like these people were, and watching a movie like this now and watching all of Paul Thomas Anderson's work, because he deals heavily with religion and capitalism and Christianity and the combination of money and power and those things. It's a whole different ball game. And The Master is money. And it's so fucking funny. Like, it's got some wonderful moments of humor between Joaquin and Phil that are just great. This has to be 1 or 2 for me. It's too good. It's too good. I love all these movies, but these are like, if you're a cinephile, you have got to sit down and watch these movies, and The Master, I think The Master is one of the best movies from the 2010s. I think it's up there, I'm a believer.
Yeah, I too am part of the cause.
Yeah. I love when Laura Dern is like, on page 13 of this book, it says, "Can you imagine? Can you see how that's different than saying, can you recall?" And what do you want, Helen?
You don't question.
Is the new book.
Yeah, it's just like L. Ron Hubbard. He just kept writing. None of it gelled. None of it made any sense. None of it built on each other. He just kept going. And you questioned him. You were a suppressive person, and you were kicked the fuck out. It's it's kind of brilliant in a way. Like, I've written shitty sci-fi. Like, where's my cult? You look at the story and you're like, in the right moment, I might have been able to do that. Did I miss the boat? I think I missed the boat.
It's got a lot to do with how cool Lancaster Dodd dresses. He looks so cool, and his mustache and his hair is always on point. We fought the day, and we won.
His ability to spin bullshit out of thin air is unparalleled. Like, it's a fucking art form. It's a superpower. We'll get to it, but yeah, oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, I love The Master. Fuck.
For me, the top 5 are all essential viewings for cinephiles. Number 3, Punch Drunk Love.
I was wondering where that sucker was.
I really enjoyed this movie. We so rarely get to see Adam Sandler really stretch his chops like this. And I think, if he'd never done Punch Drunk Love, I don't know if he ever would have had the courage to do Uncut Gems. Like, he needed to kind of open up his powers. And you see so much of what he's been hiding from the world in Punch Drunk Love. And his going toe-to-toe with just the sleaziest Philip Seymour Hoffman character of all time is a gem. It's a gem. It's so great. Their interactions are hilarious and also kind of scary.
Yeah, no kidding.
The power PSH is able to exert over his life just because he called a phone sex line one time. And it's like, it's creepy. It's weird, but it's also about a guy just kind of finally refusing to be stepped on. And I like this movie. I think it's an odd love story. I feel like that would never fucking happen. I feel like Emily Watson would have fucking ran, but whatever. It's fine. I love the whole pudding shit. The blue suit he won't take off.
Yeah.
The unbreakable glass he shatters at the beginning of the movie. It's just all a bunch of moments that are like seamlessly weaved together into a crazy movie.
Yeah. I love this movie. This is clearly where, you have Heart 8, Boogie Nights, and Magnolia. He takes a big turn as a filmmaker here with Punch Drunk Love. It's only an hour and 35 minutes. This is the shortest movie ever to date. And his desire to work with Adam Sandler at the time was very powerful. And Adam Sandler was like, yeah, sure. I'll do that. I'm a box office king. I'm the man. I just strung together tons of comedies that did really well. And Paul is able to do something there that just got the very best out of Adam Sandler as a Barry Egan. It's my favorite performance from Adam Sandler of all time. I love that, Sandler and Anderson worked together in 2002. Then you flash forward to 2019. You have the Safdie brothers who direct Uncut Gems working with Adam Sandler. And then Benny Safdie shows up in Licorice Pizza with Paul Thomas Anderson. And this year, I love those connections. There's a clear respect within these circles. Sandler as Barry Egan. Two of my all-time favorite Paul Thomas Anderson scenes come from Punch Drunk Love. Of course, it's when they're on the phone, Sandler and Hoffman, and they just start screaming at each other. And when Philip Seymour Hoffman's like, did you just tell me to go fuck myself? Like, and they start just yelling at each other, shut. And Phil totally, gets him because he just won't stop saying shut. He's not even saying anything. He's just saying shut the fuck up. And then my second favorite is when Sandler goes to Hawaii, when Barry Egan goes to Hawaii, and he's on the phone with his sister trying to get this girl's number that he's interested in, this woman's number, because she's also staying in Hawaii, and he's trying to find out what hotel she's at so he can go meet up with her. And she's like questioning the shit out of him. His sister, why do you need her number? What are you gonna do? He's like, don't fucking do this to me. And there's a parade going on right next to him, and he's at a payphone, and he's like, stop fucking treating me this way. He's just doing the classic Sandler freak out, but it's inside of this kind of beautiful, fucked up, fucking punch drunk, love story. And it's awesome. It's a great movie. It's on HBO Max right now. It's the only one of Anderson's films that's a part of the Criterion collection. So I think there's a high respect for it. And I have no problem with it being at your number 3. I love this movie, and it's the easiest one to watch because it's runtime. Yeah. You're not going to lose your whole day.
I love those scenes. For me, it's when it's the phone call, obviously, with him and PSH, which is beautiful. But then when Barry goes to the fucking mattress store and confronts
with the phone
him,
still in his hand.
with the phone still in his fucking hand.
He's like, did you come from all the way from Los Angeles to tell me this? He's in Utah. What the fuck?
You tell me that's that before I beat the hell from you. He's just like, and then he has to get one last dig in. He's like, fuck you. He turns around. He's like, what? He's like, that's that. That's that.
Yeah. I also love when Hoffman's the family visits him in the truck, and Sandler just beats the shit out of him with that. I think it's like a pipe that he just fucking nails all 3 of them, and then he hands it to the last guy who's in the truck still. He's like, here you go. Gets back in the car, and he's like, everything's fine. It's all it's just this mentally ill and misunderstood person. Such a great character study, and visually stunning. This movie's visually stunning. It's got the real cool like red and blue waves going on. Really cool stuff, unlike any of his other work.
We were at Amoeba in LA. I I very nearly bought this Criterion set, and I kind of wish I hadn't put it back. I should have bought that.
Yeah. I thought about it too. I've owned it for a long time. This is one of the first PTA movies I watched because me and my friend, we were in middle school and we were like, oh, Adam Sandler, let's check it out. We thought we were getting Big Daddy or Billy Madison or Happy Gilmore. It's 2002. Okay, it's not that long after. And then what's happening here? I loved it. My friend was like, that was stupid. We were like 13. So, tough.
I don't actually own any of his films.
I almost have all of them. I there's a couple that have escaped me, but I don't own Hard Eight, and surprisingly, I don't own Inherent Vice, but I will soon. Yeah,
I can't believe this is the only Criterion film. Like, they'll wise up. I'm sure that like all of his shit's gonna end up in there.
I think so too. PTA also has done a ton of interviews that have been on the Criterion channel and has done different. Him and Robert Downey Sr. had this really cool conversation that's on there right now. That one's mind-boggling. These two guys are just fucking geniuses in their own right, and his respect for the people that have come before him is very cool. I really respect that.
Me too, man. Okay, moment of truth, top two. And if you know his filmography at all, you know what these two films are. The only question is, what order are they in? Number two is There Will Be Blood.
Oh, oh my God. I love it. That's great. That's really cool. I'm surprised.
Yep. Turns out I just love porn.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. There Will Be Blood is one of the most intense fucking movies ever made. It is a perfect capitalism allegory and just an ultimate, riches to rags story. Daniel Day-Lewis outdoes himself, if that's even possible, and delivers a performance of the ages.
Yeah, it's his best work. Yeah.
Daniel Plainview, what a duplicitous piece of shit, just an absolute tyrant of oil, like the king of oil. Just anything goes. He'll fuck over anybody. He'll destroy towns, families, religion, anything to get his hands on as much oil as possible. And you can't help but be mesmerized by this journey. I mean, I love when a movie, like when the protagonist is an asshole, just a bad guy, the movie is always just a little bit more interesting. And just watching Daniel fuck over everybody, you can't get enough of it. The super tense score, the incredible cinematography, the performances alongside people going toe to toe with DDL, like, Paul Dano and Kevin J. O'Connor, really like holding their own. This easily could be number one. The other film just edges it out a little bit more because of just how like fun it is. But this one is essential. Like, you need to watch this movie if you haven't seen it. It's a crazy journey. Yeah.
I've always seen this as one of the titans of our century. There Will Be Blood. One of the very best movies, one of the very best performances for sure of cinematic history, and one of the best English turn American performances I've ever encountered. It's to me, I would have this number one. To me, this is his masterpiece. It's him at the middle of his filmography. It's after, of course, Hard Eight, Boogie, Magnolia, Punch Drunk Love. So there's four, and then this is his fifth. And then he does The Master, Inherent Vice, Phantom Thread, Licorice Pizza after. So it's kind of right at the middle of the road. It's when I think he's at that exact age where he's just at the tippy top of his game. He hasn't lost that young edge, that wild side, and he's not too young to be making rash decisions. He's just fucking dominating this movie. He's directing the shit out of it, and the screenplay is fucking incredible. And there's a patience to it that I really respect. You know, it's about 2 hours and 40 minutes. Same as number one. You know, the number one that we're going to be talking about here in a second. It's not boring ever. 1 second. There's not 1 second that goes by if There Will Be Blood. And same thing for the number one, which is what's so cool about PTA is there's guys who try to make these epic 2.5 hour, 3 hour movies that are just kind of snooze fest. And he makes every minute worth your time. And with There Will Be Blood, you mentioned how there's a lot of actors that go toe to toe with him, and how can you look at that? How can you look in that man's eye, look in Daniel Plainview's eye, and not just almost laugh from how ridiculously into it he is when he has moments, you know, at certain meetings when, you know, he says, "Don't be thick in front of me, Al." You know, and then there's another time where he sees someone he was disrespected by. He gets drunk and he's looking right in the guy's face and "You look like a damn fool." How do you not just lose it, you know, from this guy? Because it's like a defense mechanism. That's what I do when I'm watching There Will Be Blood. I'm so frightened by him that I start laughing because I can't believe what I'm seeing. And this is the best score of any of his movies. Johnny Greenwood, this is the first time they worked together. And he found the guy who could match his intensity. And they haven't looked back. He's used him for every movie since. And this is the best. This score is so good that is, you know, nominated for all kinds of stuff outside of the Oscars, but it was played live. The score was played live at like the Hollywood Bowl and different places around California because it's so fucking good. It's such an experience. And I can't believe how good this movie is. This is the one where, you know, I saw it at a young age, sometime in middle school, and it was the one where it was like, oh, okay, I need to see whatever else this guy does. And that's why I went to see The Master in theaters. That's why I went to see Inherent Vice and Phantom Thread and now Licorice Pizza. This was the reason. It's not my personal favorite. Again, you know, Magnolia takes that spot, but it's a feat. It's a total feat, and one of the best movies, definitely of the 2000s. One of the best movies of the century, and one of my favorites of all time. I also love this year. 2007 is fucking lights out. 3 of my top maybe 30 movies of all time are from this year: Zodiac, No Country for Old Men, and There Will Be Blood. Just crazy. All these crazy, ridiculously talented directors working at the same time, you get this kind of beautiful year of cinema of American filmmaking. And God, man, this has to be number one for me. I am not going to complain about Boogie Nights being number one because I adore it. But There Will Be Blood is so fucking committed and so good, so worth time, so worth your time. It's on Netflix right now, just like The Master is, and Magnolia. A lot of his work is available right now, so go check it out.
Oh hell yeah, yeah. Like I said, the line between 1 and 2 is very blurred here.
Yes, I agree.
Depends on just how I'm feeling at the time. And I'm feeling a little bit more giddy because it's Christmas. So I'm going to go Boogie Nights on number 1. A film that's just got the touch. Yeah. It's so entertaining. It's just watching this dude with a huge dick just become a star and then fuck it up and then just descend into drugs and madness. It's such an oddball, and it's so crazy that he was able to pull this off, that he was able to get Burt Reynolds involved, that he was able to get Julianne Moore, like legit actors in this movie that sounds like a hell of a hard pitch in 1997. Oh
yeah, God. Yeah. The, you know, Julianne Moore, Don Cheadle, all these, John C. Reilly, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Luis Guzman, these guys just buy in. They just buy in to whatever he says, whatever he says goes. And it shows in Boogie Nights more than anything. sometimes I watched this one more than any other Paul Thomas Anderson movie. I've watched this so many times that I have no idea. I can't keep count anymore. There's been nights where when I was younger, I'm still very young now, but we're the age that Paul Thomas Anderson was when he was directing this motherfucker. You know, like that is insanity, and making those soundtrack decisions, and making those the editing in this movie is fucking nuts. But there's been times where I've watched this movie when I was 19, 20, 21, when I would go home after like a party and I would have gotten tired of everybody that was there, and I would go home and I'd watch Boogie Nights. I would continue drinking or whatever it was, smoking weed, and fucking watch Boogie Nights. That's what I would do. It was this comfort food to me, and it still remains that way. It's hard for you to explain to someone who hasn't seen it, right? You're like, oh, it's this movie about this, like you said, this guy, it's Mark Wahlberg with the giant penis, and he goes from being Eddie Adams to Dirk Diggler to Brock Landers to You Got the Touch, and I don't know, you just have to see it. It's one of those, you just got to check it out for yourself and see how funny it is, how dark it is, how scary it is at times. And if you can make it to the Ray Jackson scene with Alfred Molina, you are going to be so happy. That is maybe Paul Thomas Anderson's best scene of all time, is that kind of finale where they've hit rock bottom. They've hit complete rock bottom. And I came here to fucking they're losing their minds, and one of them has a mission that the other two don't know about, and Alfred Molina is just fucking, you want to play some baseball? He's fucking doing drugs left and right, and I love that scene so much. I love the ride that it takes you on, and really, Paul Thomas Anderson in this movie accomplishes within 2 hours. It's long. It's 2 hours and about 40 minutes. He accomplishes more in that time frame than a lot of people do now with these fucking stupid mini series that they're trying to do all this character development. He could do that in 20 fucking minutes. And you pause Boogie Nights, and you realize I'm only 30 minutes in, yet I feel like I've seen a whole film. I feel like I've seen that much development. I feel like I've seen, and it's that bouncing soundtrack that just moves, that just never stops and keeps you going, and you know exactly what year it is, you know what time frame it is, you know exactly where Eddie Adams, Dirk Diggler is in his run as a porn star, going from 17 to 18 to 19 to early 20s to just fucking coked out freak. It's one of my favorite rise and fall movies of all time. I adore Boogie Nights. I have no problem with it being number one. I think, and I've heard a lot of people say this, is there's a big three with Paul Thomas Anderson, and it's There Will Be Blood, The Master, and Boogie Nights. You can match that up with anybody else in the history of cinema. You can match those three movies up with them, and it's going to be a match. It's going to be a debate. After that, it's all just fucking gravy, And I love everything he's done. They're all 9s and 10s and 11s and fucking through the roof kind of movies for me. And it's been a blast to be able to kind of go through his filmography, and hear exactly where you have everything. We did an episode on Boogie Nights. There's nothing wrong with Boogie Nights being number one. I think a lot of people see it as the most fun, and it is the most fun.
Yeah, I can't believe, I'm not ashamed to admit it. I went into that movie with zero knowledge of it. I just wanted to see Heather Graham naked. That's the whole reason I watched that movie. And I was like, I was like, this is really good. Like, my goal was accomplished, but also kind of disappeared. And I'm like, I'm into this now. This is really good. And I never looked back.
I love when Burt Reynolds, Jack Horner, when later on in the movie, when we're going through that very intense scene of people falling, like it's now they're on the downslope. Like when we see Don Cheadle go into the donut shop, and we see Mark Wahlberg go with that guy in his truck, and things happen. We see Roller Girl and Jack Horner, and I can't remember the other guy's name. It's played by Seymour Castle, though, my guy. They're all in that limo, and they pick up the guy that was old classmates with Roller Girl, and Burt Reynolds is like, "Come on, man, make it sexy. Don't just ram it in there. This is Roller Girl." How do you write that shit down? You know, how do you write that down as a screenplay? I think that a lot with Paul Thomas Anderson. I'm constantly in wonder of how does he do this? Where does he do this? What room does he lock himself into to just fucking crank this stuff out? It's really amazing.
It's unreal. I would love to hear him talk about his process, but also I kind of don't want to see how the sausage is made. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to know where does magic come from.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to have access to these films, to this incredible catalog that's not even like close to finished, I don't think.
No, I think he's going to go for a long time. I think he's very, very inspired by his kids now, and definitely wants to kind of, at the end of The Master, it's dedicated to his two oldest kids. It says their names at the end, and I love that. I love that about him. I think it's really cool. And he's, for having so many strange, bizarre, funny, wacky films, the guy's really cool. That's why I kind of stand by him. Is yes, his movies can come across as very pretentious and can be kind of out of someone's element, and I get that. I totally understand that. But if you listen to the guy talk, especially now, maybe not in the late 90s, but now, he's very down to earth and very real, and is very honest about kind of what gets him going as far as movies go, and music, and what excites him. He's directed all these movies. He's of course done a bunch of shorts. He's done a ton of music videos for the band Haim. It's cool what he's kind of packed into his life, and again, married to Maya Rudolph. Very cool. That's such a wild couple. Like this SNL turned comedy film star and Paul Thomas Anderson. Weird.
I think they balance each other out. I think there's just, she's funny, he's serious, and they make it work.
Yeah. Yes. Opposites attract type thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. I love it, man. That was a blast. So number 9 was Inherent Vice.
Yes.
Number 8, Phantom Thread.
Yep.
Number 7, Heart 8.
Yep.
Number 6, Licorice Pizza. Number 5, Magnolia.
Yep.
Number 4, The Master.
Yep.
Number 3, Punch Drunk Love. Number 2, There Will Be Blood. And number 1, Boogie Nights.
Well done.
I have no problem. I have no qualms with that. The only thing that I would change is definitely putting The Master somewhere in the top 3. That's the only thing that I would say is I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I didn't say that. The Master is fucking unbelievable.
Yeah, no arguments here. Oh, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, absolute blast. Now let's look at from the eyes of the Academy real quick. Paul Thomas Anderson's nominated for screenplay for Boogie Nights. He's nominated again for screenplay, Magnolia, and then there's nothing there for Punch Drunk Love, which is a goddamn shame. Just great stuff happening in that movie. I think it was just overseen. And then he gets best screenplay nomination, best directing, and then as a producer, best picture of the year for There Will Be Blood. So there's 3 PTA nominations within 1 year for the same movie. And then best adapted screenplay for Inherent Vice. And then his last movie, Phantom Thread, he got a nomination for best director, and then a nomination for being a part producer for best picture. So Phantom Thread got him some love there. Yeah, I can't believe he hasn't won anything yet. That's kind of crazy. His time will come though.
Well, Licorice Pizza, maybe that'll be the one where he takes home screenplay.
It could be. I don't think he's going to. I just don't. He might be one of those guys who just is so like elusive that it never happens, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited.
You know what the craziest thing though, looking at that list is The Master, no directing nomination, no screenplay.
You know what I think that is? I think that Scientology influencing the Academy and being like, don't you dare award this man for his mockery. I guarantee you that's what happened. Somebody went to the Academy and was like, nice place here. Be ashamed if something happened to it.
Oh, man. I think there's definitely some truth to that. I think well, I mean, we just saw nothing long ago while we're in LA. Very close to the Walk of Fame is the giant fucking Scientology, are you curious why there's so many members? Not really. Not really. I don't really care to, deal with you fucking hooligans.
I'm as clear as I'm gonna get. I think I'm good.
Yeah, I've seen The Master. Yeah. The nominations it did get were all for performances. Amy Adams, supporting actress. Philip Seymour Hoffman, supporting actor. And Joaquin Phoenix, best actor in a lead role. So my first question is, should Philip Seymour Hoffman be in best actor category? Is he a supporting character in this movie? Tough.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, this is a chess game between two psychotic alphas, each playing their own way. And I see, Joaquin is definitely our main character, but Lancaster is just as important to the story. I think they should have been a head-to-head in best actor for both of them.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm gonna eat my words here for a minute. Daniel Day-Lewis wins his third Oscar for Lincoln this year.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Joaquin and if PSH were in this category too, they're both so fucking good. I like Lincoln. I don't love the movie. I love what Daniel Day-Lewis is doing.
Yeah.
But I think Joaquin is putting his best performance of all time in this movie.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that. He is fucking mesmerizing. If PSH had been here, do you think he dethrones Lincoln?
I don't know. Who won Best Supporting Actor that year?
That year, it was Christoph Waltz for Django Unchained.
Oh, that's tough. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. We're going to look at those in a minute. We'll look at those in a minute. It's just fascinating because it's the same thing like with Judas and the Black Messiah. They didn't know where to put them exactly right. And I think with The Master, it's kind of one of those tricky ones where like PSH compared to as Lancaster Dodd, compared to a lot of Best Actor nominees over the years, isn't in the movie a lot more. But sometimes that's not how they see it. Joaquin Phoenix, let's talk about him first. He was nominated for his role in Gladiator. He was nominated for supporting actor in that. And then the rest of these three are lead roles. Walk the Line, 2005, nominated. The Master, 2012, nominated. And Joker from a couple years ago, 2019, he won. He won gold. Somehow, in my mind, he beat Leonardo DiCaprio, who, in my opinion, Leo was giving his best performance of all time in Once Upon a Time and lost. And I think that's a damn shame. Joker is fine. It's a fine movie. But most of it is point camera at star, dance weird. And I just don't like when things like that are awarded over other stuff. I think his role in Joker has a lot more to do with who was filming, how it looked, who did the makeup, who did the costume design, than what he did. Leo, in Once Upon a Time, he's doing so much. And I think we're going to look back and kind of kick ourselves because it's his best work to me.
Yeah, I mean, with that loss, Leo's going to have to go to Italy and make spaghetti westerns. And you know how upset he's going to be about that.
Yeah.
Rick fucking Dalton. Who else was up that year? I'm looking up that Oscars now.
Which one?
The one where Joaquin took it for Joker.
Oh, 2019?
Yeah. Best actor. Yeah, that was Leo. He should have won that. Maybe Adam Driver for Marriage Story.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen Pain and Glory yet. And Jonathan Pryce was good, but yeah, Leo should have taken that.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. That should have been his second win for me.
I did really like Joaquin's acceptance speech though. I like that he talked about his brother. He talked about inclusion. He talked about the environment. Like he had a lot to say.
Yeah, I wish he would have had more time because he clearly was like, he's all over the place. Yeah. I love Joaquin. I really want to see his new film with Mike Mills directed. Come on, come on. Everyone I know that's seen it has said it's just a fucking tearjerker and a beautiful movie. So I'll definitely check that out soon. Next up, Philip Seymour Hoffman, my favorite actor of all time. He's the fucking man, and I love his Oscars run. I think it's really cool. I love all of his work outside of it. I think some of his best work ever has not been recognized, and that's just a damn shame. But 2005, Capote, his first nomination and also a win for Best Actor in a Lead Role. Incredible performance, out of this world. He was nominated again for Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Charlie Wilson's War, 2007. And then again a year later for Doubt, also supporting role. And then finally his last nomination just 2 years before he passed away, The Master, 2012. So, wow, what a fucking run of 4 movies, 4-headed monster. But before The Devil Knows You're Dead, come on, where's that lead nomination? Come on, like, where is it?
If he had been nominated for that, I honestly believe Daniel Day-Lewis does not win for There Will Be Blood.
Oof.
His performance in Before the Devil Knows You're Dead fundamentally changed how strong I felt about acting. Like, that was not performance. That was transformation in a way I have never seen before. And I will defend that to the day I die. Lights out. Yeah, that should have been up. And that's not all. Like, he has never given a bad performance. He always cared about the character. He always transformed into the character. Even in the fucking Hunger Games movies, he was still doing something special. Not a lot of actors could do that. I'm going to miss him forever.
I know. He was, I believe, 46 years old when he passed away, and just surely had a lot more to give as far as his art goes. And, the monster of addiction took him before we were all ready. The silver lining in his death is that it looks like his son is going to kind of carry the mantle. And I'm not going to lie. Just looking at Cooper and seeing his dad in his face was enough to make me just really, really emotional watching Licorice Pizza. PSH has appeared more than any other actor in Paul Thomas Anderson's movies. They had a very cool friendship. They very much understood each other when it comes to work and outside of work. He appeared in 5 of his movies, and that's a lot. He wasn't here for 2 of them. So who knows? He's at the time he died, he was in 5 of 7. That's pretty neat, I think, when it comes to working with a director actor work relationship. They just had an understanding. I mean, he used him in Hard 8 perfectly. The scene where he's just, come on, big time. It's just fucking, his hair is crazy. And then right after, as Scotty in Boogie Nights, one of my favorite characters from the movie. And then bam, Phil Parma in Magnolia. What? And then, like we mentioned earlier, Punch Drunk Love, his wild, wacky performance. And then they take a big break, and he shows up in The Master again and knocks it out of the fucking park. is crazy. I think Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood, and then Phil and Joaquin in The Master is like, what more can you want? What more can you want from a performance standpoint?
God, Anderson's ability to write these meaty fucking characters for these iconic actors to just, dig into. I mean, very few filmmakers have worked with Daniel Day-Lewis more than once. I think it's just Anderson and Scorsese.
I think Stephen Frears might have done it again after My Beautiful Laundrette. But I'm not 100%. I would have to look at it again.
Did Stephen Frears do In the Name of the Father?
Yes, there you go. That's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So him too. But yeah, it's just Daniel Day-Lewis is such a choosy, specific actor for the characters he chooses. They always have to have something. And for Anderson to do that twice is quite meaningful. And just everyone else he worked with, he's very representative of the term. There are no small, like, no small parts, just small actors. Like every character in his stories means something. Yeah, props.
Yeah, very, very, very cool. I can't believe the difference in something like There Will Be Blood and Phantom Thread, that he's able to give him these two just places to just play. He's like, here you go, buddy. I've got it all for you. And our mistake. It's Jim Sheridan, who he worked with twice in My Left Foot and In the Name of the Father. Our fault.
Okay, Jim Sheridan. All right, glad we cleared that up.
Yeah, because I was like, no, it's not Stephen Frears. Who the fuck is it that directed that goddamn movie? And then I remember My Left Foot. And I was like, oh yeah, that's who it is. Jesus Christ, My Left Foot. I mean, good heavens. That's for a whole different conversation. PSH, he's a guy who we gave a show episode to. We gave him his own episode back a long time ago on Filmgazm. We were doing these episodes every fifth episode of Filmgazm. We were calling kind of Weird Shit Wednesdays, where we just did something a bit different, and we both took it upon ourselves to kind of watch everything he's ever done. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we didn't watch Scent of a Woman during that run, and we waited until it was on Oscar Sunday and we talked about it. And that's where he kind of comes onto the scene, and he's so good in that movie. Young PSH is a goddamn treat. So is Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, is that your favorite? That's your number one?
It's not necessarily my favorite, but I do think it is his best performance.
Okay, that's totally fair.
Yeah, favorite. Shit, I don't know, man. That's a tall order. I got to take a quick glance at the filmography.
That'll just make it harder.
Be reminded of some stuff.
Owning Mahoney, 2003. Fuck yeah.
Oh, maybe. You know what? Just because of what it means to me, it's probably Red Dragon. I love. He plays he plays a sleazeback so well, and the comeuppance of that character is so dark and so freaky that it just works. I buy every moment of him glued to a fucking wheelchair, being taunted by Ralph Fiennes, and him realizing, like, I'm not making it out of here alive. And just that acceptance, like, coming over him, I buy it. And then just getting his lips bitten off and lit on fire. I mean, what the fuck? Yeah, that's a favorite. But Owning Mahoney is definitely a gem. I'm glad that I discovered. And then, Brant and The Big Lebowski.
Oh yeah.
Obviously a favorite of mine. That's marvelous.
Yeah.
This is our concern, dude.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
He's so good in that. Yeah. I love that the guys he chose to work with, and then he's able to, you mentioned earlier, he's just kind of able, anything you give him, he's going to fucking chew on it and tear it to pieces. One of my favorite scenes of his is the basketball bit between him and Ben Stiller in Along Came Polly. The Rainmaker. He's too good. He doesn't need to show up for that. He doesn't even need to fucking try, but he knocks that shit out of the park. When I was a kid, my dad's a big reason why, for a lot, like most people, one of your parents or both your parents really like movies. My parents weren't exposing me to all kinds of stuff, but my dad definitely tried to, because again, I grew up, I've mentioned many times, I grew up going to church in a very much in a Christian home, and I went to private Christian school, and so it was just different. It's just different than what a lot of people go through when it comes to pop culture. And so there were times where my dad would try to bend that a little bit and be kind of like the cool dad. And he took me to see Mission Impossible 3, which I believe that's 2006. I was 11. And I felt so awesome. It's like, oh my God, I'm seeing fucking Mission Impossible. And he's the villain. Philip Seymour Hoffman is the villain in that one, and it's my favorite Mission Impossible movie, pretty much because of his performance in it. But that I was a kid, and I knew this guy's fucking special. Whoever that guy is, I want to see more. And of course, as I get into middle school and high school, I see the Lebowskis, I see the Boogie Nights, and then as time's gone on, Doubt, Capote, Charlie Wilson's War, The Master, just this guy's fucking lights out every goddamn time. And I'm going to continue watching his movies always. He's my favorite. We have our fucking award named after him. So I love the guy to death. It's hard to go from him to anybody else, but if we are going to go to somebody else, it's someone as wonderful and as talented as Amy Adams. Six bloody nominations and no wins. Fucking crazy. Her first one was Junebug, 2005, supporting actress. Doubt, 2008, supporting actress. The Fighter, 2010, supporting actress. The Master, 2012, supporting actress. American Hustle, lead actress, 2013. And then, of course, her wonderful role in Vice alongside Christian Bale. In 2018, she was, again, supporting actress. Is there someone as prolific and as talented as Amy Adams in their prime right now? I mean, she is fucking amazing.
She's a fantastic actress and an incredible character actor. It is kind of a crime she hasn't won gold yet. I think we'll see it. Mm-hmm. I hope we see it.
Me too.
But yeah, I think she's lights out. She's one of my favorites. And her presence in this movie is cool because she is kind of the overarching secret major player that you're not paying attention to. And that's a cool performance.
Yeah, she's like the first lady, right? She's pulling the strings. Behind every good man, there's a good wife type. That's kind of the deal here. And her line towards the end of the movie of, this is something you do for 1 billion years or not at all. This isn't fashion. For
me, the moment where she just like starts jerking him off and is like, you can do whatever you want as long as you keep it away from me. Don't do it in public. Now, like, let me take care of you. Like in that moment, you're like, oh, okay, she wears the pants in this relationship, clearly.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That scene is great. Yeah. And this is something that, is not easy to talk about, but is there a director who's better at realistic sexual scenes than Paul Thomas Anderson? This guy is fucking unreal. He's so good at getting actors to be oddly intimate. And it's realistic. It's not this fucking, 50 Shades of Grey bullshit. It's like two people in a moment. And she's like, are you going to come for me? And he's like, oh, Philip Seymour Hoffman's just like, Jesus, you fucking own me. And Inherent Vice, there's a scene between Joaquin and Catherine in that movie that's just fucking unreal and totally blew my mind the first time I saw it. I was like, are you kidding me? I've never seen something that honest to real life and how people actually operate in that realm. And of course, Boogie Nights. So the guy's just quite frankly, he's a master. Paul Thomas Anderson of all ranges of his craft.
Well, he doesn't even try to make it all that sexual. He kind of just treats it as like a part of life, which very few filmmakers do. It's not special to him. It's just Tuesday, which is kind of, I think it's a good move. It's smart to do it that way. He just turns it into a regular everyday thing. Whereas a lot of filmmakers turn that into like the showpiece, the centerpiece of their film, which is, can be interesting, but is not always necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. So good. Amy, I know you're not a huge fan of Arrival, but I really wish she would have been nominated for that movie. She's so fucking good in Arrival. I love her in that one. I also love her like in fucking Enchanted. Everything she kind of touches. I enjoy what she does inside of every movie. But of her nominated stuff, I think it's The Master and Vice. Of course, I love her in Vice. But her role in Doubt, going head to head with Meryl Streep and Philip Seymour Hoffman is no easy task. And at the time, she was like 30 years old. fucking crazy.
Yeah, that movie is a unique film. Tough to swallow for some people, and really kind of makes you pick a side in a very difficult situation. And Amy Adams is kind of there having to make that decision. She's fantastic. But really, I think, after watching The Master again and realizing her role in the cause is so much greater than I initially thought, the layers of that, I think this is the one she should have won for.
Okay, well, that's perfect. Let's go right into that. Best Supporting Actress at the 85th Academy Awards. We have Jackie Weaver, Silver Linings Playbook, Helen Hunt in The Sessions, Sally Field in Lincoln, Amy Adams in The Master as Peggy Dad, and Anne Hathaway, Les Miserables. That's who won. So Les Miserables is just not for me at all. My vote is definitely with Amy Adams. Sally Field's pretty damn good in Lincoln, and Jackie Weaver pretty good in Silver Linings. I think that movie's a bit overrated, and admittedly, I have not seen The Sessions, so shame on me.
I have not seen The Sessions either. Helen Hunt just kind of disappeared, which is a little weird. Like, she was huge in the 90s. She had her bit, another Oscar nomination here, and then I haven't seen her since. I think she did like the Mad About You reboot and then just fell off the map again.
Yeah.
Weird. All right. Anne Hathaway in Les Mis. She's really good, but it is just a brief kind of, she's in like the first 20 minutes of this 2.5 hour gargantuan musical epic, which I did kind of like, but this was Amy Adams' time. She is so good in The Master. She's like the fucking, trying to think of like a comparable, like all right, here's a go. If PSH is Saruman, she's fucking Sauron, just watching everything happen and waiting for her moment. It's really cool and a very neat villainous performance that you kind of don't even notice the first time.
Oh no, not at all. You're blind to it completely because she's quiet. She's subtle. Yeah.
Whereas he's a boisterous, loud, charismatic face of this religious movement. She's the fucking soul. She's the one inspiring him to write. She's leading him, like telling him how to, how to say this shit. She is the cause.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think this is definitely her Oscar, and I would have to really look at the other 2012 performances inside that year, but I think it's Amy Adams kind of no matter what, inside of a movie that's that powerful. And and the greatest point you had was with Peggy Dodd specifically. If you watch this movie 2, 3, 4, 5 times, every time she gets a little bit scarier, and that's cool. That's cool.
She's the one who tells him, like, tells Joaquin, like, you're not welcome here anymore.
Yeah.
Like, get out. Okay. Yeah.
You have to stop boozing. Yeah. I love that. Love that beautiful. So much. All right. Jesus Christ. Supporting actor. This is a group of motherfucking legends. We have Tommy Lee Jones in Lincoln, Philip Seymour Hoffman in The Master, Robert De Niro in Silver Linings Playbook, Alan fucking Arkin in Argo, and winner Christoph Waltz in Django Unchained. Jesus Christ. This is a just incredible group of actors, all kinds. We've got De Niro, who's this just legend leading man who all of a sudden, is able to just kind of do everything, and is, I think, over the course of his career, really learned how to play off people and be a good supporting performer. We got Alan Arkin, who's just been around forever and didn't quite get his flowers until later on in his career. Philip Seymour Hoffman, a dude who's at the top of his game. Tommy Lee Jones, another one of those kind of gritty, got a different kind of gravitas than everybody else. Like, I'm tough. I'm not a fucking Hollywood actor. I'm fucking Tommy Lee. And then Christoph Waltz, who's a guy who took a long time to blossom, but once he did, it was like game over, shut it down. This guy is a match made in heaven with Quentin Tarantino. So I'm not going to say he doesn't deserve this at all because he's amazing in Django, but I would give it to PSH.
Yeah, I figured. This is a cool group because I think this is like a rare moment where all 5 of these guys are past winners.
I love that. I love that.
That's fucking awesome. And they're all really good in their respective roles. But honestly, I just fucking love Dr. King Schultz. He's such a great character. I'm okay with Christoph taking this one. And I wonder, like, Leo should be here. Calvin Candy is a performance.
Too dark for them, I guess.
I think take out Alan Arkin. Honestly, Argo is pretty forgettable in itself. And give it to Leo there, and maybe Leo wins this. Because every time I watch Django, I'm more terrified by Calvin Candy.
Oh, he's the scariest character in Tarantino's filmography. And that's going against Hans Landa from 2009. So, I mean, fucking forget about it.
God, those 2 racist assholes would get along so well.
They would. They truly would. And I love how Christoph Waltz gets to kind of show I can be a good guy.
Yeah, like he plays not just like a good guy, but like the most noble man in America.
Yeah. He's fucking excellent in this movie. Are you following along on Wikipedia?
Yes.
Okay. So to the right, there's photos of everybody, or maybe it's above it. There's photos of everybody.
Uh-huh.
Do you see the photo of Daniel Day-Lewis? The fuck is he wearing?
Rainbow scarf, plaid jacket, pork pie hat. I don't know what's going on there, but I love it.
I do too, but Jesus, fashion has changed drastically.
When you are that talented, you don't give a fuck about fashion.
You
got nothing to prove.
Yeah.
He could show up in like a fucking, ski mask and a Batman cape, and he is still the most impressive son of a bitch in the room.
Yeah, he truly is. Oh, I'll teach you to speak English with this fucking knife. Yeah. Best actor. Speaking of Daniel Day-Lewis, best actor, we got Denzel Washington. This group is fucking nuts too. Denzel Washington for Flight, Joaquin Phoenix for The Master, Hugh Jackman for Les Miserables, Bradley Cooper for Silver Linings Playbook, and the winner, Daniel Day-Lewis for Lincoln. Oof. Jesus, I'm sweating.
I love when I've seen all the films and I can actually think about this. Boy. Denzel in Flight, super underrated performance. That is such a cool movie.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is a 3-headed race. Bradley Cooper's good, but it's not a performance that I think lives on like these others. And Hugh Jackman, again, I'm pretty biased. I'm just not a fan of Les Miserables. I think it just is I don't even know how to describe it. It's just not for me. Not my kind of experience. But the other 3, I fucking toss up.
Yeah. Oh boy. All right. I haven't seen Lincoln in a long time.
Me neither.
Yeah. But he is just, he becomes fucking Abraham Lincoln. Maybe the greatest leader this country's ever had. And you believe it. But Joaquin in The Master is vicious, is so broken. So like searching for some kind of meaning and never fucking finds it. Gets tricked into thinking he's found it. And you just, the whole time you're thinking like, this guy has nothing left. And Joaquin delivers that so well at a time when everyone kind of thought he was burned out. He was done. After that documentary came out, everyone was like, what the fuck? And then he does this and you're like, oh no, like he has not even begun to peak.
Oh no. Yeah. It's his, right? I think at the end of the day, if you had to really, gun to the head, it's fucking Freddie Quell. It's got to be Joaquin. It's not just the, classic actor facial expressions and nailing the lines and kind of delivering every little bit of. It's the physical performance with this. It's the fucking shaking his body and moving around like an animal, which is so cool because in the movie, Lancaster Dodd is, we are not animals. We are above that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
it's the constant, like, unblinking long shots of him like slapping himself when he fucks up. Like, there's a rage in that character that is so like just palpable, and you just keep waiting for it to come out, and it comes out in the weirdest moments, just out of fucking nowhere. He is so just backed into a corner. It's a vicious performance, and I wonder if he pulled a little bit of this into his Joker performance.
Oh yeah, you can tell there's specifically towards the beginning, the way he's standing, when he's in the Navy, and he's on, they're all the guys are on the shore and they're making that sand woman basically, and he's just looking at it, and the way he's hunched over and he has his hands like kind of on his hips. I was watching this with Brianna, and she was like, God, his posture is just bothering the shit out of me, because it's just, he looks so fucking uncomfortable in his own skin. And the way he's moving, and there's a few times where he laughs when it's just, there's no laughter needed at all. And he just kind of, does this weird, and you're like, oh my God, there it is.
There's like moments when he's talking to Doris's mom and she's like, well, it was great seeing you. And he's like, oh, am I leaving? Like, it's like, there's a monster in there.
Yeah. And the scene where the guy's showing him pictures and he's like, what does that look like? He's like, that's a lady's pussy. What about this one? That's a cock going inside of a pussy. Okay, what about this one? Actually, that's kind of like an upside down cock. And the guy just says, thank you. Like, Joaquin, only him, only him. And then of course, that scene, the first processing scene, is where I think is, if you want to learn about acting, I think, from the 21st century, there you go. That scene is both of them, him and PSH, just fucking out of this world.
Oh, I don't want to say too much for fear of giving away my awards, but yeah, you're on the money.
Yeah. Let's get to those, man. So we've covered those three categories. These are so much fun to kind of just look at, because you get to see names like Denzel and fucking De Niro and Sally Field, people that we've covered multiple times on the show. I love revisiting them through different ceremonies. But my favorite part always is at the end of our show here is giving awards out to a specific film. And it's always great when, it's a true favorite of mine. The Master is a 10 out of 10 type movie to me, and I'll watch it till the end of time. I think it's great. So, we're going to have a lot of fun here with our awards, the Quentin Tarantino Award for best line, which I think is fitting because this is when Tarantino finally won his screenplay award for Django. And he was elated when he went on stage, and I love how much he cares, it's chilling and inspiring how much he cares about everything film, and there's people who I think are fans of his who are like, fuck the establishment and fuck awards, and awarding art. And he's like, no, it's cool to try. It's cool to try. It's cool to try your hardest and do something as well as you can and get recognized for it. I love that about him. So very cool. I love that we named this award after him, and that's never changing. The Ennio Morricone Award, that's not changing either, for best music moment, which we got a lot from Johnny Greenwood's knockout score in The Master. The Philippine Hoffman Award for, of course, the best performance of the movie. And then we have the Roger Deakins Award for the best scene of the movie, which I have 4 things written down. I had to cross out 3 of them. So that was not easy.
Those are the best films. When we have trouble with it, it's the best.
Yeah, and of course I know what's coming. I've seen this movie plenty of times, and it just rocks me like a fucking wave every time. And I always am like, oh, this is my best. This is my favorite part. This is the best part of the movie. That happens every time. And so I knew it was coming, but still very hard. Go ahead and take it away with your Tarantino.
I have 2, and one of them I'm fairly certain is also yours. So I'll just go ahead and say it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the first one is when Lancaster is at his New York party and trying to convince this old woman of how his methods work, and this one guy's just like, excuse me, like 8 times. And finally Lancaster's like, what? just turns around like, what? And the guy's like, I think this is horseshit. Like, you're not time traveling. You're not reading minds. Like, and he just responds, like, after a heated argument, Lancaster goes, if you already know the answers, then why ask, pig fuck? Like, out of nowhere, shuts it down. It's beautiful. I've never heard the term pig fuck before, and it's kind of entered my lexicon.
Oh yeah, you and I say it all the time now. It's the best. That scene is so good. I think he says, excuse me, I was trying to count. I think he says it 12 times. Finally, Lancaster turns, the way he turns around, like he's spending so much energy just to pay attention to this fucking guy, you know. And the guy's right, you know. He's like, isn't this hypnotism?
Yeah, this is bordering on cult, isn't it? Yeah. He's like, true. Oh my god. Tis.
I love when he says tis. Oh my god. That scene is so good.
And then he ends it with, we are not helpless. like you're the offended party here.
He says when John Moore is like, I'm sorry you're unwilling to defend your beliefs in any kind of rational. If you already know your answers. And the pig fuck is so well delivered, but he doesn't just leave that to kind of hang out in the air. He immediately goes into, we are not helpless, and we're on a journey that risks the dark. If you don't mind, a good night to you. So good.
Oh boy. Was I right? Was that yours?
I no, because I knew it was going to come up. I wrote down pig fuck, but it's not my official Tarantino. I have a different line. That's my favorite line from the movie. But yes, that's iconic. To me, it's one of my favorite bits from any movie ever is pig fuck. Yeah.
It's hilarious and it's intimidating and it's crazy. And it's one of the first glimpses we get at Lancaster is unhinged as shit. Yeah. My other line is one of the most unnerving and also badass things I've ever heard uttered in a film. And it's at the end of the movie when Dodd and Freddie part ways. And Freddie tells him, like, maybe in the next life. And Lancaster says, if you leave me now, in the next life, you will be my sworn enemy, and I will show you no mercy. Fuck me, man. What an exit.
Oh, jeez. And then he sings Slow Boat to China. Like, are you fucking kidding me? This guy's all-time villain. All-time. Yeah, that scene is awesome. That line is so cool. I will show you no mercy. And then before that, it's in that same breath. Lancaster goes through. He's like, oh yeah, I finally remembered where I knew you from. And that whole bit is so crazy that I'm like, is that true? Holy shit, this guy is going into serious detail about how they work together in Paris.
As George Costanza once said, it's not a lie if you believe it.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my god. I love Lancaster Dodd's my favorite fucking son of a bitch of all time. Those are great. Those are fantastic. I think there's a lot of lines here in the screenplay that you could point to, and one of my favorites that I think when I did some sort of write-up on Filmgazm a long time ago where I was talking about the master or one of these actors, and I used the quote that from Amy Adams from Peggy, where she says, you either do this a billion years or you don't do it at all. This isn't fashion. I love that so much. It's such a cool line. But I watching every time I watch these movies for Oscar Sunday, no matter what it is, I'm always either watching something for the first time and I'm, trying to see what I think about it, critique it, or I'm watching something that I love or whatever it may be. In this case, it's something I love. And so I'm trying to find out, what do I love about it most, And I think my favorite bit of the screenplay comes when we first see Philip Seymour Hoffman and Joaquin Phoenix, Lancaster and Freddie kind of lock. And they're like these two, for lack of a better word, they're these two animals just like kind of locking, and they're like figuring out, how am I going to take you down, And I love how we see them wrestle in the lawn later on in the movie. You're like, that's what they always want to do. He explains to him, Lancaster explains to Freddy that, oh, you stumbled onto my boat. You were acting fucking aggressive because you're too drunk last night, but I need to know what's in these remarkable potions, and then Freddy's like, well, what exactly is it that you do? And Lancaster says, my favorite line from the movie, Lancaster says, I do many, many things. I am a writer, a doctor, a nuclear physicist, and a theoretical philosopher. But above all, I am a man, a hopefully inquisitive man, just like you.
I was this close. I almost wrote that down. Oh, beautiful line.
Yeah,
and
gorgeous.
So remarkably full of shit.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's that initial. You always in life, you have, when you meet somebody, you have this first impression that you're allowed to give, and depending on how gullible that person is and what they've been through in their life and what experiences they have, they might believe you. They might buy it. And in this case, I think we didn't see something that happened on that boat the night before. Lancaster was like, I'm going to fucking capture this being. And I think that is the moment where he's like, I'm going to make it seem like I am just so far superior to him that he has no choice but to just keep following me. And I'm going to get him and bring him into the cause. And I think he probably did that to a lot of people that are a part of the cause, where he just puts you under his thumb forcibly without you totally knowing it. And he's a master. I mean, that's why they call him that. He is a master of his own craft, even though it's complete horseshit. And I love that. I love PTA. He could use many different things, but using writer, doctor, nuclear physicist, and theoretical philosopher, those just flows perfectly in a sentence. And then saying that above all, I'm a man. I say that all the time. I say that to my brothers. I'm like, but above all, I am a man. They're like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, Donnie. And I adore that opening bit between them two. At that point, we've only been with Joaquin, and seeing PSH for the first time sitting down with this, his like button down fucking pajamas. Like, look at this guy. Look at that mustache. He's great.
I am a writer, a student, a podcaster, but above all, I am a man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a fucking amazing way to introduce yourself.
It really is. It's genius. And PSH, again, his delivery it's them too. It's Paul Thomas Anderson writing for actors, giving them stuff to chew on, and getting the right people to deliver it. That's always the most important thing, is finding that match.
When a character like this is, you're playing a cult leader, you're playing a guy who fashions himself, a true scholar. And the only way you're going to ensnare people is confidence. Like, you have to believe
Correct.
that you are a genius, that you are a scholar, that you are changing the world, or else how the hell are they going to fall for it? And yeah, PSH encapsulates this just supremely confident fucking car salesman so well. It's brilliant. He's selling you nothing. It's all lies. He is like the fucking dragon story at the wedding toast.
Oh my God.
He pulls completely out of his ass. Just like,
yeah, wait, what's this?
How about
a
dragon?
Yeah.
He even said, how about this?
I love that. And he's like, and now we're going to teach it to roll over and play dead. And everybody just starts clapping. Like, what? This guy's fucking off his rocker. He's lost his goddamn mind. There's so many bits, so many things that he says that I love after his daughter's wedding, when he's like, he starts clapping and he's like, we fought the day and we won, and they're all like, yeah, good night, Lancaster, the fuck.
It takes a special sort of brain to manipulate people like that. And
yeah,
you buy it because PSH is so fucking committed.
Yeah. And the fact that they're buddies, PTA and PSH, it just makes it even better, makes it even juicier. Because I'm sure on set, PSH was like, "Yeah, man, I got this," you know. And Joaquin's like fucking losing his mind, you know, and he's running into walls and shit. And PSH is like, "This is what we do for fun," you know.
Yeah, I bet like as soon as Anderson yelled cut, he was like, "All right, so like, you know, what are we doing next? Like, you want to get some lunch or something?" And Joaquin's over there just like intensely staring at a wall or something.
Yeah.
Tries.
So good, so good. Oh man, I love this movie with all my heart. All right, yeah, that's enough for the Tarantino because the whole screenplay we could talk about it forever. The Ennio Morricone Award. Did you choose there's some good soundtrack, little needle drops here, some really strong ones, but the score is really good too. So where'd you go?
The score is amazing, but I did pick a needle drop. And specifically because of how weird and out of the blue and unnerving this is. And it's when Lancaster leads his group in a rendition of A Roving. And every time the camera pans away, there's more naked women.
Yep.
Every time. And it's so, you're like, is this really happening? Is Freddie losing it? Like, what's going on here? And his song is so infectiously like just cheerful. And everyone's naked and all the like it's so weird, but it just makes sense because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
it's pure cult.
Yeah. When I saw this in theaters, this was the scene where I was like, I don't know about this guy. This guy, Paul Thomas Anderson, I'm not sure about it. I don't think I understand this. You know, why am I seeing a pregnant Amy Adams naked? Why is this happening? Why are we doing this? And now I just buy the ticket and take the ride. Yeah.
Well, I was just like thinking, okay, this is odd, but this is exactly what a cult leader would do. It always comes down to, I want to fuck all the women. That's always what it comes down to. Every cult leader throughout history, that is what he wants to do more than anything. And here is the moment. Here's where Lancaster is, you know, doing it. And Peggy calls him out, like, keep that shit behind closed doors. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating stuff. Watching him perform, watching Philip Seymour Hoffman perform, when I heard his son Cooper in Licorice Pizza say, "I can't help it, I'm a showman," I was like, oh, fuck. It was just tear jerking, you know, because that's his dad, you know, and hopefully we get more stuff to come from the Hoffman, you know, the Hoffman legacy, you know, very cool. I chose a bit of the score. I love this score a lot. I think Johnny Greenwood is just as important as anything that's happened to Paul Thomas Anderson in his career. I mean, matching up PTA and Radiohead is, come on, it's just crazy. It's just like, of course. My favorite bit, I mean, I love Time Hole. I love Back Beyond. I love Overtones, these songs that are just these beautiful, beautiful songs. But my favorite is the very beginning. It's called Able-Bodied Seaman. It's the song that's playing at the very beginning when we get like a nice little fisheye lens of Joaquin cutting. You know, he's using the machete and he almost cuts his fucking hand right there.
Yeah.
Only Joaquin would do that.
He thinks about it. He's like, nah.
Yeah. Should I just chop my hand off? Yeah. And then that's when we see him working with the other guys on the sand woman. And he goes up to it, starts like acting like he's fucking it. And you're just like, okay, this guy's weird. And then when they first come face to face, Lancaster and Freddie, he calls him that. He calls him an able-bodied seaman, you know, and he's like, no, you're a fucking scoundrel, you know? And he's like, no, if you have work, like I can do it. You know, Freddie's like, I can do whatever, you know, I'm a Navy guy. And I love the title track. I love that it gets brought up later. I love that opening sequence just like pulverizes you. You're like, oh shit, what am I watching? What is this? What kind of madness am I about to jump into? I like Paul Thomas Anderson's ability to put you in a setting and you don't even have to wonder what year it is. You're like, oh, it's clear, very clearly the 40s and 50s, like very clearly. And I love that about PTA. He doesn't need to tell you anything. He just shows you. And Johnny Greenwood is a big part of that, in my opinion.
I nearly did pick that for my Morricone. I love that score. at the beginning. It really lulls you into a weird kind of dreamland where you're like, this isn't right. Something about this isn't right. It has the strings of a horror score.
Yeah.
It's so unsettling.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant.
Yeah. The strings now have been used in almost every A24 film that's come out since The Master. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Brilliant. I'm glad we were able to kind of showcase the soundtrack and the score.
Yeah, well, yeah, the soundtrack, you also have that really cool moment where Get Thee Behind Me, Satan plays by Ella Fitzgerald. And that's a powerful track. Powerful. And I fucking love that usage. I also love from the score, I love the Split Saber. That's a really cool track. Yeah, this one's great. Just look it up on Spotify or whatever, Apple Music, whatever you have, and just check it out. You can kind of get lost in Johnny Greenwood's score. I would say the Master score and the There Will Be Blood score are just on different levels.
Yeah, absolutely. They're both very they're scores that trap you.
Yeah.
In the movie. Like you're not leaving. Like you're here till we say it's over.
Correct.
And that's brilliant music.
Yeah.
I was saying in the most recent I'm spoiler free, but Spider-Man No Way Home I just watched, and I realized I was more excited for the music cues of the characters than I was to actually see the characters. And I thought that was really cool.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Good music is one of my favorite things in a film.
Yeah, I mean it's extremely key. And one of my favorite things about Paul Thomas Anderson, his soundtracks, they've taught me so much about music. I've either found artists that I didn't know about or rediscovered artists. Like, oh yeah, like when he most recently Let Me Roll It by Paul McCartney. I was like, in Licorice Pizza, I was like, I fucking love this song. I forgot how much I love this song, and I've been listening to it every day since then. Same thing with David Bowie in Licorice Pizza. I was like, oh yeah, David Bowie kicks ass. I don't listen to him enough like I used to. And with There Will Be Blood, The Master, it's Ella Fitzgerald. Last night I was like, oh man, Ella's just got this fucking searing voice that I want to get back to listening to, because there's so many artists out there that you will go through phases of listening to somebody, but Ella Fitzgerald's someone I was like, I need to put her back kind of in my repertoire of listening to, kind of week in, week out.
I adore Ella Fitzgerald's These Foolish Things. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. I can just lay down and just lose myself in that song.
Yeah, just melt. Yeah. Yeah, she's a transcendent type of voice. Fucking A. Good. Yeah, good stuff. All right. Here we go. The Philip Seymour Hoffman Award. Does it go to Philip Seymour Hoffman or does it go to Joaquin Phoenix?
For me, it was finally time to give the Philip Seymour Hoffman Award to Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Me too. Yeah. 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 It's time. It's finally time. We haven't really had this opportunity.
Yeah.
Not really. We've talked about, like when we talked about Boogie Nights, like, come on, like Scotty's not better than, Jack Horner or Dirk Diggler. It's just not, he doesn't have nearly as much time. But right here, it's a heads up.
Yeah.
Fucking showdown between Joaquin and Philip. And I think Joaquin is doing some really impressive physical stuff, but it's Phil that has the like maturity in the performance to just like knock you on your ass. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah. It's such a layered performance of evil and psychosis, but also a firm belief that you truly are changing the world. It's a crazy mixture that creates a cult leader. And you buy every second of it. It's such a beautiful performance. I just love that his speeches are so meaningless. If you really dissect what he's saying, he's not fucking saying anything.
Yeah.
But you don't have time. You're too mesmerized by the way he's saying it. It's confidence, it's expression, and it's power. I you could learn so much about people with this movie. It's great.
Yeah, fucking A, man. And that's really interesting because that goes into like bleeds right into my Deakins is what you just said about he's saying nothing, and if you really pay attention or if you read the screenplay, you'll be like, this guy's a fucking phony ass prick. Like, but it's the delivery. It's that delivery. It's that charisma.
Oh yeah.
I'm very curious to hear what you have for the Deakins.
This kind of bleeds into my Deakins as well.
Okay.
And it's The Arrest.
Same. Yeah, exactly. Because that's when Joaquin, the night before, it's that whole like 10-minute stretch where I'm just like, cinema. He's laying on that couch and Amy Adams is Peggy Dodd is like, you need to stop boozing. And then right when he wakes up, he goes out to the porch and fucking pulls out his flask. And then Jesse Plemons, Lancaster, which is just so cool. Jesse Plemons, right towards the end of Breaking Bad. Are you fucking kidding me? And he's sitting outside and it looks like he's asleep on the porch. His name's Val, Lancaster's son. And that's when Freddie kind of challenges him. And then Val's like, he just makes this shit up, right? You don't see that yet? I love that bit. I fucking love when finally Jesse Plemons is us. We're like, okay, someone finally called him out. Thank God.
Well, in that moment, I love that Freddie's immediate reaction is, you got something you want to say to me? Like, it's right in his face. Like, it's a challenge. It's, oh God. And then, The Arrest and Freddie just being like, well, I don't know where he is. Like, completely fucking with the cops. And Val's just like, he's right inside. Just go get him.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And then they end up in jail next to each other after Freddie starts punching cops. And Freddie's reaction, just destroying that toilet, like just breaking it with his feet, which was apparently real. That was a real, like, old toilet that Joaquin destroyed.
It's a real porcelain toilet that even Paul Thomas Anderson's like, there's no fucking way he's just gonna, and he knocks it out in one fucking kick. He just boom.
And just, Lancaster standing there perfectly calm, just waiting for Freddie's tantrum to end. And Freddie starts, attacking the bed. And Lancaster's like, keep your head, we'll be fine. And he's just like, you make this shit up. You're lying. You're not saying anything. And that's when my favorite moment happens, when Lancaster's like, fuck you. They are facts. Fuck you. Just starts screaming at him. Like, that's the real Lancaster Dodd right there. That's the con man underneath all the bravado, is this guy who's like, fuck you. I am a master. And like, how dare you call me out on that? Who are you? You're lazy. Jesus.
Yeah, there's a lot I have to say about this whole run. I love when the Philadelphia Police Department comes to pick him up, and they're like, "Oh, we have an arrest for Lancaster Dodd," and Lancaster's like, "What? Is it against the law to make people better here?" He's like, yeah, without a license, you fucking idiot, and then that's when, like you mentioned, Freddie starts losing his goddamn mind, and just he's all over the place, and they have to get like 3 cops just to get him down on the ground, and he ends up getting arrested too. And I love how Lancaster shouts out, "Do not hurt him!" he's like on the steps about to go into fucking prison, and that bit is 2 of our finest actors ever, just in 2 jail cells, and Joaquin, for that scene, watched. I was recently shared this information and watched some stuff for myself, read a bunch of stuff. But I was texting my older brother Jeremy. He lives in Minnesota. Shout out to him. He's great. He adores this movie, and his girlfriend Alex adores it just as much, or even more. And she's the biggest Joaquin Phoenix fan I've ever met. And they were showing me this like article and this different stuff about Joaquin prepping for this role and prepping specifically for this scene. And he was watching animals in captivity, videos of animals in captivity, and how they, just lose their like functions and start doing things out of their body. And that's what's happening there, is he doesn't even know where he's at anymore, and he's losing his mind. He's been suckered. He's been put through the gauntlet of being in war, coming back, not knowing what he's doing. And like, you forget all at the beginning of the movie. What causes him to run and go to this boat that Lancaster's on is him getting accused of poisoning somebody. And so then he's, all of a sudden he's finds his way onto this boat, and now he's with this guy, and he stands with him, stands up for him. For what reason? For what fucking reason is he doing this? And when he starts smashing his back into the bed, all of this stuff is Joaquin. It's just Joaquin. That stuff's not written down. It's Joaquin Phoenix just going that extra mile to give us what we got. Again, for a movie that didn't even make its money back. And that's such a damn shame, because this scene specifically is should be put in a museum. It's so fucking good. And I have to, the stuff they say to each other, I have to just read it off. Lancaster is watching him do all this, and he's like, your fear of capture and imprisonment is an implant from millions of years ago. This battle has been with you from before you know. This is not you. And Freddy's like, shut the fuck up. Lancaster, it's not you. Freddie Quell, shut the fuck up. Lancaster, it's not you. You are asleep. Your spirit was free, moving from your body to the next body. Free for a moment. Then it was captured by an invader force. Jesus. Bent on turning you to the darkest way. You've been implanted with a push-pull mechanism that keeps you fearful of authority and also destructive. We are in the middle of a battle that's trillions of years old and in the making, and it's bigger than the both of us. Freddie Quell, you're making this shit up. You make this shit up as you go. You don't even know what you're talking about. And then they're released, and they hug, and they have a drink together, and Lancaster becomes even more determined than ever to change him, to mold him. And he puts him through this rigorous routine to try to change him. And that's the best moment in the movie, is that 10 minutes of, whoa, I can't believe that just happened. I can't believe that kind of acting just happened. I can't believe they said that stuff out loud. And it's just to die for, it's so worth watching the movie just for that moment. It's the best. I'm really glad. I wrote down pig fuck scene. I wrote down processing scene. I wrote down the scene when he's walking back and forth between the wall and the glass window, and Joaquin's just losing his mind. And then Rami Malek, Oscar winner, is in this movie.
Yeah.
And he's like, Doris. He's, are you fucking kidding me? Joaquin's just putting on a show there a few times. But ultimately that bit from being arrested to going to jail and coming back home is the best part of the movie to me.
I'm just picturing somebody who's never seen this movie, seeing your list and reading pig fuck scene and processing scene and having some real weird questions for you.
Oh, for sure. I think people probably have weird questions for us anyway. To be quite frank, this movie's perfect, man. It's perfect for me. It's a 10 out of 10. I think it's PTA in total control. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's not too long, but I don't think it should be any shorter. I really don't. I think it's all worth it. And you need all that stuff. You need the end sequence where he's in the movie theater and then gets called by Lancaster and then goes and visits him in England. All that stuff is great too. It's the best.
How did you find me? I
Yeah.
love that. And he never tells him, but that's power. It's an 8 for me, but you know me, an 8 is a strong score for me. It'll probably, I watched this a couple more times. It'll probably go up.
Yeah. It's one of those movies that gets better. The first time I saw it, it was probably like a 6. I had no idea what the fuck I saw, and
Yeah.
I was way more into, just like action movies, and at age 17, you can imagine, I just hadn't experienced anything like this. But 10 years later, here I am, and I've seen it probably 5, 6, 7 times, somewhere in there. And I adore it. It's great.
Beautiful. Yeah. This was a fun one. This was a passionate episode. And I love when we're both just on fire like this.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Beautiful. What, this is it for 2021.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And you know, we're gonna do something a little bit lighter to open up 2022 on Oscar Sunday. You know, we got, you know, obviously it's Christmas weekend, so we hope people are enjoying that. But next weekend is fucking New Year's, and that'll be a lot of fun. So I wanted to do a movie that combines Christmas and New Year's and kind of the holidays in general, and a movie you haven't seen that I want to show you. And so it's 1989's When Harry Met Sally, directed by Rob Reiner, written by Nora Ephron. Just a really, really solid movie when it comes to the rom-com genre. And I'm excited. I'm excited for you to see it. I think you're going to really dig it. And it's going to be different, you know, much change of a pace for what we're used to here on Oscar Sunday. So I like doing that every now and again, just kind of changing it up, doing a different genre.
Yeah, I love that we have a show here where we can do fucking, you know, Shrek, The Master, and When Harry Met Sally just randomly throughout the catalog. It's the parameters we've given ourselves here are fucking perfect.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of limitless, right? But I know that we have, if I'm not mistaken, we have one more sneak preview tomorrow for 2021, and we have one more Filmgazm episode this week. So what are we doing on those?
Sneak preview is going to be a bit of a hodgepodge. We've got The Matrix Resurrections, Being the Ricardos, Don't Look Up, and The King's Man. We'll be covering whatever we get to see of that bunch, and then, you know, whatever else we feel like doing. Sneak previews become pretty loosey-goosey.
Okay.
And then Filmgazm, we're ending on 2021 on a big high note. We're tackling the iconic 1981 classic, The Evil Dead. Been wanting to do this movie for a long time. Very excited. And then extra special awesome, we made an announcement on last week's Filmgazm that starting January 7th, we will be launching a brand new show hosted by Filmgazm co-host Caleb Leger, and most occasionally hosted, well, pretty much frequently co-hosted by myself. Beyond the Bad, where we're going to be covering the worst reviewed films in history and try to find a silver lining of these horrendous, shitty movies that most people have ignored or thrown away or buried deep as they possibly can. And we're going to dig those graves. We're going to dig them up and we're going to watch this shit. We're starting with Batman and Robin, like maybe the worst superhero movie ever made. So tune in Fridays starting 2022 for that. I'm so excited. If you want to hear more about it, check out last week's Filmgazm where Caleb and I go into depth.
Fuck yeah, man. Beyond the Bad. Gonna be really cool. I'm excited. I'm excited to add that to our resume of just wild and completely different kinds of podcasts, you know, different kinds of shows for all kinds of people to enjoy. I definitely will try to make an appearance or two on that show just for fun, because it's fun to watch shit, you know. It's fun to watch shit every now and again, you know. You get a little too riled up if you watch The Master too many goddamn times, and you know you get a little wacky. So I think it's fun to watch stuff that's just fucking movies, you know, just popcorn.
Well, we've already recorded the first episode, and one thing I realized, it's fun to have a place to just bitch, to just complain, to just dig into the worst parts of Hollywood, the worst parts of movie making, shitty acting, pretty much the opposite of this show. It's going to be fun as hell and just like a nice end of the week release, I think, for all of us. So
I like that. Yeah.
It's going to be fucking great. As I said, Friday, January 7th, first episode of that show.
Beautiful. Well, this was a lot of fun, man. One of my favorite episodes we've ever done on Oscar Sunday. Always good to talk about Paul Thomas Anderson. Always good to hang out with you. You know, I hope people, you know, like what they hear, and you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Filmgazm on both of those. You can kind of see different things we're doing, and you know, check out some reviews. Check out our website, filmgazm.com. See some articles, different. You know, one thing that I really like on there is our Hall of Tens. Connor, Caleb, Josh, and I all have every movie that we've given a 10 on the website and given a review. We have those kind of alphabetically ordered. So it's just something fun we do on there. And we're going to be adding more stuff as 2022 starts rolling. I'm really excited. So hope you guys have a good week. hope your Christmas was good. And signing off is Austin Johnson and Connor Eyzaguirre. So we'll see you guys later.
Hell yeah. Peace.